Thanks for your time.
Good, Roy. Good to be here. How are you, Bone?
Hello, Mick.
Hey, we've just spoken to Andrew Demetriou, and I asked him about the umpiring for round one. Have a listen to him, and I'll ask you the same question, Mick.
Yeah, look, I've had pretty positive feedback, particularly round one, when normally there's the umpires are learning a few new rules and interpretations, and as other coaches and players, and we normally get a bit of kickback. But look, there's a new team in there now with Wayne Campbell and Hayden Kennedy and others, and look, we've had positive feedback, but it's only 1 week, guys. I mean, it won't be the same without some criticism in the coming week.
Mick, they put the whistle away. Do you like it?
That's a very so it's a yes or no answer. Yes.
Yeah.
If I were able to elaborate, I would say that we probably. I believe firmly that you should free kick the most obvious free kicks, the things that actually influence the play. If it doesn't influence the play, let it go. I think by and large the umpires did a pretty good job over round one.
All what I've noticed from the 9 games, I watched the most of them, any stoppage where there's a lot of congestion and numbers around the ball, Bone will get it, I'll tackle him, it'll jar free without him disposing it correctly. Someone will get a push in the back, they let it go. There's another contest, the ball flips out. They're letting those congested ones go. But then what does frustrate me, Mick, there were 3 free kicks in that passenger play I've just said, over the shoulder, didn't dispose of it correctly, or in the back, whatever. Goes down the other end, I chop a forward's arm, or a rucking infringement at a boundary throw, and it's a free kick. Well, that free kick's value is nowhere better than me ripping Bone's head off in that scrimmage.
No, Rowie, I think you're spot on. There's I think to be able to clear up a stoppage, you either get someone to get the foot to it or hand to it and get it out, or you get a free kick and a legitimate free kick. Nothing that's going to go, oh, look, I'm sick of balling this ball up, I'm going to give a free kick and never have tiki touch. You've got to give the most. I think my first comment was you've got to give the legitimate free kick that influences the play. In other words, if you get pushed in the back, that's pushing the back. If you get grabbed around the neck, that's around the neck. If you drop the football without making contact, and that's all over the ground. I'm a little bit like you in regard to the consistency from one end to the other must be maintained, and it doesn't matter whether it be in the 10-yard square or up the other end of the ground. What applies there must apply all over the ground. But if they're only tiki-touch-wood once, let the game go. And I think I've read this somewhere where they're the lowest free kick count since 1960s.
Spot on.
Now, to me, I don't know how it was umpired in South Australia before the national competition, but from my memory, there was a lot more leniency to let the game go in South Australia than there was in VFL. Because I just reckon, from my memory, I still hear our players going, wow, not a lot of free kicks, and you really have to murder a bloke to get a free kick. I'm not opposed to that. I think that we need to see a very, very good contest. If there's just incidental or minor contact to a player, let the game go. Those umpires this week have been pretty good. There's been a couple of absolute ones that you'd say, well, hang on, they've just about ripped that bloke's head. They've just done a job like Ned Kelly had been done. So therefore, it's a free kick around the neck. Give it. But by and large, I reckon they did a pretty good job.
Normally you fix a problem in the modern game, Mick, you create another one. What's going to happen? Is there going to be a byproduct to the way they're umpiring now?
Always.
Yeah.
Always is, Bone. Always is. Anything at an AFL level flows straight down to the next level.
Yep.
It's going to be interpretation. And, I've watched the VFL a couple of times this year so far, and what I'm seeing there is very, very similar. And I've got to say that most of the VFL umpires are either gone, finished, they can't get up, or young blokes coming through. So therefore you don't expect the same standard. Like if they're playing VFL, you expect them to play. If they're good enough, they play AFL. So we've got to take everything on its own bat. That people underneath are not quite as experienced or perhaps finished. And the next level down again may be country, South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania, whatever the case may be. So again, you're going to get these umpires that aren't quite up to, but everyone looks up. No one ever looks down. They all look up and they go, oh, that's how they do it. So yes, there's no doubt there's going to be a flow on.
Mick, what did you like? Did anybody impress you over the first round? Any team surprise you more than another?
West Coast held their form.
Yep.
They've played Fremantle twice, beat Fremantle twice, and I didn't think that Fremantle allowed them to win the second one. They did, and that was a real alarm bell to me going, hell, and I reckon West Coast have got this together now. So they are the real McCoy. Greater Western Sydney are scary.
Really?
Port have proven, I think beyond doubt, that last year was not just a good old Port. No, I think they are real McCoy, and they've got some young kids there that are very, very exciting. I think the Hawks have been very, very impressive. There's going to be life without Buddy at some stage, and it's going to happen this year. This will be a great test. They had two major goal kickers in Bruce and Roughhead.
Yep.
When they play sides that have got, pretty solid, big solid defenders, it'll be interesting to see where their goals come from. I'm not saying the Hawthorn aren't the real McCoy game, because I think they are. But I think there's been some interesting games. Round one is historically throwing up things that are, by round three, you shake your head and thinking, well, it happened in round one, why is it happening in round three? But by and large, I think we've had a pretty good cider of sides that are going to go pretty well this year.
Well, cracking games this round. There's yours versus Richmond, Sydney, Collingwood, Bomber, Hawks. But we want to talk about the one at Adelaide Oval, Crows v Port Adelaide. You're going to coach one of them right now. Which one would you pick, Crows or Port?
I just love to be in the stand. I would love to be in the stand watching the
You're welcome.
Not a new ground, a great ground being upgraded to AFL standard. In fact, probably now takes over the mantle as the best ground, because they would have looked at every other ground in the world and said, okay, this is how we treat our supporters, this is what we do, this is what we've got. Close to the city. You'd love to be able to go and have lunch, walk across the bridge, go to the ground, look at the clock and go, look, now we might have actually stop somewhere in town in a restaurant and have a bit of dinner and go home. That's what modern sport's about, is actually giving the supporter the opportunity to see an event, either side or inside a meal or a drink or whatever the case is. And look, it'll be, to me, I can't pick them. I think that Port historically have been pretty good against Adelaide, but Adelaide, zipping one would be smarting after last week, because I thought they fancied themselves against Geelong last week, and they almost got them. I think Selwood was probably the difference. Now, who's going to be the difference this week? Will it be Ollie Wines? Will it be Boak? Will it be will it be Hartlett? Will it be Wingate? But then again, you look at the other end. Will it be Betts? I thought Betts played pretty well last week for Adelaide.
Yeah, no, he was good. He was good for his opportunities.
Right. Yeah, too right. So, who would I be on coaching? I just like to be able to sit. I'll sit in the grandstand and barrack for both.
Done. Well, let me word it this way. You played Port round one, so you know them firsthand. What do the Crows need to make sure they do to win?
Well, Westhoff's such an important player to them, but if you take Westhoff out, then you've really got, Butcher can mark the football, Schultz can mark the football. They've got three forwards that can actually mark the football, and then they've got forwards around them that actually kick goals. So the thing that I like about Port is that their ability from the midfield to kick goals, to be able to have Broadbent as a sub and come on and get 9 positions last quarter and really just set them up with that beautiful run he's got and ball use. I think Adelaide really have to attack the goalmouth, and I don't think you can defend Port's ability to kick 14 and 15 goals. They'll probably kick 16 or 17, but you've got to get something on the board yourself. And my way of thinking is that Adelaide have got the capacity to kick that 13 and 14 goals. I think a lot's going to be how Port go about stopping Dangerfield, because he is a superstar. There's no question about that. He needs a bit more support, but I reckon that they've probably got those players there. They're not as if they're mystery players that you don't know about. I think it'll be the battle. I always say to our blokes, whoever wins in the middle, and I mean at every stoppage, gets a real good look at the footy. To me, both sides are so evenly balanced in the middle that the dominating partner in that middle area, and I'm talking about the stoppages with those interchangeable players, they'll win the game. There's no question. So I'd say that Adelaide have to focus very much on making sure Port don't get too much from the middle.
Hey, Mick, there's a fascinating discussion underway over here in Adelaide about Paddy Dangerfield and about the protection that he may need from his teammates.
Well, he's not getting.
And that he's not. Yeah, he didn't get it against Geelong. He's a bull that he charges in but doesn't get any help. Be interested to know how you instruct your players to look after, if that's the right terminology, Chris Judd when he's in and amongst the action, and maybe what the Crows can do to protect Paddy if he needs any protection.
Well, I think the word is, does he need protection? He's a pretty big boy himself. You've got to win your own football in today's football, which he does. I think around stoppages, there's a good opportunity to do some blocking to allow a player to get some freedom, and that's legal. most of that stuff's within a couple of metres, so therefore you know it's legal. There's a train of thought. I watched one of the best players I've ever seen at really doing some work for his teammates in the middle is Lenny Hayes. I know he's probably at the twilight of his career, but he's an absolute marvel at being able to drift from a ball-getting player into a good defensive set where he just gives great protection to blokes like Montagna and Del Sano of yesteryear. So, do you really need that? Probably every club needs someone to be able to have a big body and step inside and give a bit of daylight. But look, you can all hunt the football. If you all hunt the football, the chances are you're probably going to win the footballs 55 to 60%. You win that ball 55 to 60%, particularly with the kicking power and the extraordinary running power of Adelaide. It goes a long way to win games of footy.
I read an interesting article about Gary Ablett today saying he wants to play 400 games. Possible? That couldn't be possible in the modern game, could it?
What's he done so far?
He's around 250.
250, yeah. Maybe it is possible.
7 years, 7 to 14 years. So
what do you
7
reckon?
years, 3 in the middle and 4 as a lazy forward pocket. I would say that he caused a lot of damage down. He wouldn't want to be a backline player playing on him, put it that way.
No, I'm not looking for my retirement package having to pick him up on a weekend. Crikey.
No. I think it's a rarity these days that you're going to get players playing beyond 300 games.
Yeah.
The toll is enormous. Look, Fletcher's a freak. Yeah. I think one of the ingredients you must have. I look at Bradley and said when he left, I was down on my knees thanking God, because I reckon he still had 1 or 2 years left in him, coaching against him. One is because he just doesn't. He had never lost his pace. And you look at Ablett. He's got great pace.
Yep.
Fletcher, great pace. Harvey, great pace. And the other thing is you must have to couple that is probably a relatively injury-free career. If you're a slow and you get injured, I don't think you can last beyond 30.
Yep.
Or thereabouts.
Makes it hard.
Yep.
Carmichael Hunt's talking about giving it away too. Do you reckon that experiment might be over? I've seen Izzy Folau sort of come and go. Hunt's trying to get back in, but just wonder whether that experiment of trying to get rugby league blokes into our game might be over.
Oh, it's going to take look. That Gold Coast side's a very good side. To crack into that's going to be an enormous
surely not now.
thing. But the other thing is to pay Rugby Australia, and they'll never do this, to give the players who got an athletic ability but just quite haven't got that fitness component, whack them back with the AFL for 12 months and let them come out the other end. And you get Israel Folau. He is without a doubt a better player because of his 12 months or thereabouts in AFL football.
He's remarkable now, isn't it? I mean, he is such a better player. You're exactly right. His form at the moment is incredible.
Well, and I don't like putting myself out there saying our code's better than anyone else's, but one thing's for certain, if you play our code, you've got to have the capacity to do about, say, 12 to 14, 15 Ks a game.
Yep.
You've got to be able to run sprint. You've got to be able to endure a component where you run probably for 7 or 8, 9 minutes, and you mightn't touch the football, but you've still got to have that capacity. Get knocked over, get back up again, come off for a better minute, come back on again, and play 120 minutes of football. So I think it's done him the world of good. And again, I must emphasise, I'm not saying our code's better, but our code can actually better support their fitness base to be that sort of player. There's no doubt in my mind he's a better player because of it.
The AFL clubs want to engage with their fans. We had Port Adelaide coming out today saying they engage with their fans better than any club. Carlton are trying to engage. Crows are. Obviously, the Adelaide Oval move. I went to the Crow Shed last night, Mick. The 19th man were practising some chants that they can do. 50,000 Crows fans chanting. Just have a listen to this and I'd like your feedback on it.
Still there, Mick? Mick?
That's thrilling. It's really thrilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would scare the life out of you.
Yeah, they're trying to manufacture something at Adelaide Oval, both clubs, that when an opposition club comes, it's going to be like a cauldron.
No, that really scares you. The thing is, I went to Man U and listened to Man U had lost 3 games on end, which is very rare. Well, they thought they was happening this year. And the crowd got up and yelled out, and they all as one, stand up for the champions. They all just stood up because they just realised that no matter what predicament they were in, even though they lost 3 games, what Man U had done for that crowd in the previous 10 years, 15 years, they weren't going to allow a 3-loss run influence, and it was stand up for the champions. And of course, we know what Liverpool's like. I live pretty close to MCG. I rarely hear an MCG crowd, except I heard the Liverpool.
Yeah.
It was honestly, you end up with goosebumps. I'm not 100% sure that stuff there from Adelaide is going to give me goosebumps.
Well,
Mind you, Rowie, if you join in, you may well push it over the line.
Done. Well, I was there. Mick, I was there last night.
I could hear your voice. I could hear your voice in there.
Done. Yeah, Mick.
You're probably the cheerleader.
But Mick,
you guessed it. I
was there last night, the 19th man. But you've just said something. It needs to be simple and short, like the Man U one, like Collingwood or the Freo. Yeah. What about just 19th man stand up? And just chant that. 19th man, stand up. And then they all stand. Mick, you've done it.
You'd have your interchange blokes working out now who is 19th.
Yeah, correct. Was it you?
Run on to there's a 50-metre penalty. Oh, come on,
Rowie, I just want to see you lead the band. It's like a big German band. Out the front you get. I can just see you out there.
Mick, please.
Mick, I am a big German band.
I can see you doing it.
I know you can. Hey, Mick, love you. Speak to you next week.
All the best, lads.